your state of consciousness is infinitely more important than what you are doing on that state of consciousness. So what I mean with this is your state of consciousness is basically how you experience the world, how you experience yourself, and how you experience your reality. And you can look at what your state of consciousness is just directly through how is your day, how do you live, basically. That's infinitely more important than what you are doing from that state of consciousness. So let's say people always, let's say you want to have a career, and you want to have a wife, and you want to have this, and you want to have that, and you want to have some goals, or you have some goals and you want to achieve them. That's never as important than the state of awareness and the state of consciousness and your quality of living from which you achieve and try to achieve those things. So you can look at it in various levels, right? Let me explain it. Maybe I'm going to draw it, but let me explain it first. So it's like a pyramid. So let's say you have all kinds of layers to a pyramid, and in these layers, let's say you're at a lower bottom layer, you can build something. Let's say you're in the bottom layer, right? And you look, and it's like a maze there. So you look at the maze, or you look at the world from that bottom layer, and you're in it. You're in that level of the pyramid. So you look in front of you, and you just see the world in that way. You just see that layer of the pyramid, and you're trying to achieve something from there. You're trying to achieve something from that layer. So you are working hard to get somewhere. You are building a business. You are trying to get a girlfriend. You're doing all kinds of things in this world you see in front of you. But what you don't know is that if you go a layer higher, you can look and see this world from above, and you can just see this world as it is. And if you look forward then, instead of down, you're on a whole different layer. And your experience on that different layer is ultimately more conscious, more enlightened. And more conscious basically means that you are less influenced by the outside world and by your thoughts, and you are more you are closer to who you are, or you are who you are. That's the ultimate state. You are consciousness, and that's who you are. And it's not some crazy enlightenment experience of like, now you are conscious. It's like you've already been this all the time, but your experience has just been colored by these thoughts and these emotions. So I hope I can explain it correctly, because it's extremely important. So let's go a bit deeper into what these layers consist of. Let's say you're at like a lower layer, like a little bit below the middle layer. Let's say it doesn't really matter, but let's say for your visualization, you have like the pyramid here. It is the pyramid. the middle layer is like the layer of a pyramid, and you are looking to the world in that state of consciousness. What makes that layer, and what makes that consciousness your consciousness? There are a few things, and it's thoughts and feelings, I believe, especially thoughts. So thoughts and emotions. So your thoughts color your entire reality. You don't see a reality for what it is. You see a reality for who you are. So you don't experience reality as something outside of yourself, and this is super difficult to really grasp with the mind, because what it ultimately is you are looking at the world, but you're looking at it from your own perspective, and this perspective is so familiar to you that you don't even notice that you look through the world in perspective. So it's unconscious. You're not conscious that you have a choice to experience it in another way. So you are sort of stuck in this level, and in that level you have your judgments about the world, you have your ideas about yourself, your self-image. It can be positive, it can be negative. You have something you want to achieve probably, or you have these limiting ideas of like, oh, I don't know what to do in my life, or you're trying to stop some addiction. You're trying very hard to get somewhere. Because why is everyone trying very hard to get somewhere? Because we know internally that we are not at the top of the pyramid. And with the top of the pyramid, again, I mean you are not who you are. That's it. It's not some type of state of like, oh, on top of the pyramid, I need to achieve it. No, it's who you are already. But you just get... it's just an illusion you are stuck in. But deep down you feel that this is not who you are. So in this layer of the pyramid, you feel that there's something missing. And that's why everyone is trying to work so hard and putting so much effort into trying to get somewhere, because they feel that where they are now is not where they should be, or where they are completely home, completely safe, because they feel so much fear and anxiety. And they know that's not how it's supposed to be. And you can feel that, right? So what keeps you stuck in this? It's a few emotions. It's fear. You're fearful of the future, so you are fear-based. All of your actions are based out of a certain type of fear. All your effort is for selfish gain. Your effort is not to give, ultimately, but your effort is to get. It's also very typical for a certain state of consciousness, like in this, like a certain layer of this pyramid. Like everything you do is to get something, and you have a lot of fear. So you move from a place of fear, of not being good enough, of not being able to feel loved, not being safe, to just relax. It's all about effort, of trying to get somewhere. So then the real question we come to now is, how do we get to the higher stages of consciousness? Well, that's a huge question. I feel like that's maybe one of the most important questions you can ask. And we have to realize something. So our tendency, and my tendency for the last 1.5 years, has been this as well. And it's a fucking trip, you know, because what I've been trying to do. So I have had an enlightenment experience. So I've experienced for like a brief evening, like a few hours, that I was completely in this upper state of consciousness. That's why I'm here on this YouTube channel talking about this, because it changed my life. It was so impactful. I was one with God. I was in a state that all spiritual teachers, they point towards that state, and I was experiencing that. But then the next day it was gone. So what do you ultimately try to do? What are we programmed to do? We have the belief that we need to do something in order to achieve something. We think this world is conditional, because sort of it looks like it is, you know. You need to, let's say, meditate every morning, and then you'll get enlightened. You need to do this practice, and then you'll get somewhere. But again, that implies that you are not already this. So what you're then doing is like, okay, let's say you're trying to basically become yourself through all kinds of practices, but how can you ever become yourself if you are already yourself? The only thing that happens is you are letting go of the layers that you thought you were. You can only realize what you are if you realize what you are not. And that's this, from what I think, that's what this whole world is about. It's all about realizing what we are not. So I think humanity goes through fear and anxiety just to realize we are love. I think the opposite of fear is love. And if you go through intense anxiety and then you can let go of it, then you can let go of it into love, and it's the complete opposite. And in a space of love, no anxiety or fear can manifest. Because if you love your anxiety, you love your fear, what is it? What can it grip on? You know. So in this state of consciousness, fear is very, very dominant. So it has a grip on you. It grips on you because you think there's something wrong and you need to fix something, you need to get somewhere else, you need to get rid of this fear, you need to do something. The fear makes you think you need to do something to get rid of it, to feel better, but it really is not conditional. So if we talk about unconditional love, it's not in this method of, okay, I need to do something in order to get something. It's rather unconditional. So what is that? The mind asks. What is it? If it's unconditional, it means it's already here, right? If you don't need to do anything to achieve it, it's already here. But it's so difficult right now to realize that. For the mind then. Because the mind cannot believe it. Literally. It cannot believe it. Because if it's unconditional, this love, and this higher states of consciousness, it means it's already here. And if it's yourself, it's also already here. So how do you get there? How do you get to yourself? It's rather a letting go of what you are not. And in that, we play a realization game. We start realizing what we are not. And it has no grip on you anymore if it's not you. You know? If you have anxiety and you completely realize that it has nothing to do with you, basically. Nothing to do with you. This anxiety, this fear, these thoughts. It has nothing to do with you. Where can it grip on if there is no you in the story? It's just anxiety as it is. It's just thoughts as it is. There's no you in this story that needs to fix it and needs to get rid of it. That you in this whole spectrum, that's the ego. So we've talked about the states of consciousness briefly. And we spoke about what you don't have to do to get to this state. So what does this process look like? Well, what did it look like for me? I'll tell you a story about my own experience. For me, when I awaken, let's say, when I don't really like to use these fancy spiritual terms, but because I don't know. But when, let's say, the moments I have these realizations, these conscious switches of going to a higher consciousness, the only thing that happens in that moment is, so first, these fear emotions and these heavy clouds you live in normally gets way heavier, so you feel like, fuck, it's gonna go wrong. You're gonna maybe have almost like a panic attack, or you have a panic attack, and it gets worse, right? It gets so much worse, so because it's so much up the surface, like these dark feelings and thoughts, and you go so deep into it, and then eventually you just are like, I cannot fight against this anymore. Because that's what you're doing all the time. You're fighting against life. And then when you realize you cannot fight it anymore, you surrender to it. And you're like, okay, I'm going to die, or what your fear is, this is going to happen. It's like, okay, I don't have control. I just let go of my control. And what happens then is you realize you never had control in the first place. You let go of your illusory control. You thought you had control, but it was not you who had control. It was the ego who thought it had control. So it's not you who lets go of control, it's rather the ego who lets go of itself. And the ego is based in control, based in fear, based in getting. So you let go of this. And what happens then? Well, you have to experience that for yourself, because if I tell you about it, like I could tell you about, like, okay, it's so freeing, it's so joyful, there's such a passion coming through. It's all true, but then you make a lot of concepts about it in your mind. But ultimately you should experience this for yourself, and what it is to switch states of consciousness. And switching state of consciousness is basically you get more conscious of what you are not. So you're shedding the layers and letting go of the layers of what you are not. And in that seeing and in that consciousness, you experience what you are. Because you only experience what you are through realizing what you are not. And that's the contrast we live in this world to experience, I think. So let go of the effort, let's say, because effort is a big one. I've been efforting for 1.5 years to get enlightened, and it doesn't work simply. I've heard people ask to spiritual teachers, like, how you get enlightened. They've been trying it for 40 years. So please, I'm also saying this to myself, stop trying, stop efforting, because that's the mind again. There is no effort, it's rather a letting go of effort. So letting go of effort is what we are gonna experience sooner or later. So don't even try and let go. Don't even try and stop or quiet the mind. Just be with it. And the thing that really try, if you can, embrace it with love. Embrace your fear with love. Embrace how you're feeling with love. Embrace your thoughts with love. Don't even try to embrace it with love. Just be kind towards it and see how it slowly disappears. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a bit of maybe a complex one, but I want to go more into these deeper subjects soon, because I feel like that's what I'm really here for. Well, I'll check you guys later.